What's up, Internet? Don here from DonDoes30.com, and I'm going to be answering the questions for my AMA, my Ask Me Anything. And first of all, I do want to thank everybody who went ahead and submitted questions, comments, thank yous, all of that good stuff. And I've decided I'm going to try to answer all the questions in one session. If this goes a little bit too long, I may cut it off and have a part 2 coming up shortly. So I'm going to start out, I broke the questions down by personal questions I got about me, and then some questions I got about technical stuff. So first of all, let me start a little background about me. I got my computer about 20-something years ago. My first computer was given to me as a birthday gift on my 10th birthday. And if you followed my website or have gone to any of my social profiles, you'll know that I'm in my 30s. So for about 20 years I've been on computers. My first computer was a IBM 486. I think it had like 2 megabytes of RAM, which is insane. And it was actually a pretty damn good computer at the time. Now, fortunately, I was neighbors to a guy who was very much into computers. In fact, that was pretty much his whole life, and he does a lot with computers still. And him and I used to tinker around. We used to dick around with different programs. Just basically, we were trying to break things to find out why they were broken and then try to put them back together again. So when you're doing that for about 20 years, you pick up a thing or two. So I'm going to start, I hope that starts giving you a little bit of a background. I got a question from George Nostradamus. So he said, so my question is, when was the first time you coded and why? Also, do you have any recommendations for reading or maybe an easy language for a beginner in programming and coding? So the first time I started coding was probably BASIC and batch files. And the reason was because back in the 90s, there was no such thing really as the internet. So you either had to go out and purchase software or purchase games, or you had to write them yourself. So as I mentioned my neighbor before, him and I would write BASIC games. And by the way, BASIC is a programming language. We would use that to write games, or we'd write stupid batch files, and that, I guess, was my first kind of foray into coding. From there, I got into C++, HTML, CSS. Obviously, I know Python, VBA, which is Visual Basic macro programming for Excel, and I think that pretty much covers it. Oh, and unfortunately, I took COBOL programming, which is also an older language, but obviously still used by some companies, apparently, if there's jobs out there for that programming language. So a good beginner language, to be honest with you, I would say would be Python. It's pretty easy to learn and pick up and straightforward. And any recommendations for reading, check this out. So this is one of the books that I read when I started the hacking challenge a few months ago. It was Penetration Testing by Georgia Weidman. It's a really good book. It's good introduction to penetration testing, and it also has some advanced topics, including buffer overflows and how to write some C code to write your own exploits. It's actually it's a broad range of topics from really easy introduction to really advanced stuff. So I'd highly pick that up. Some of the more advanced stuff you may have to read once or twice, more than once, just to kind of pick up on everything that she's talking about. Also, I recommend going to Code Academy, codeacademy.com. It's absolutely free to take some of their courses. It's self-paced, and they have all these languages down here: HTML, JavaScript, jQuery, PHP, Python, Ruby. And I guess either you learn how to call APIs, or it's an API that they have. But this is actually really cool. It's really free, and if you want a really basic introduction to programming, especially in Python, this is one of the classes I went through just for fun. Also, Coursera.org has a lot of great classes on programming. This isn't necessarily self-paced. This is more of a classroom style, so if you prefer having a strict schedule over just doing it yourself, I would recommend Coursera to go ahead and start your programming journey. Do I have a career in pen testing or security? Was asked by Skyfox. And no, I don't. Actually, I started going to college for a computer science degree, and I don't know why, but I decided to do the business route instead. So I do still have that technical background for programming, but I really don't use it in my career. All right, Dulex Zach, I guess, asked, where did you learn to hack? If you used any ebooks, could you provide the links? So the books, again, that I used, I just used this book, realistically. Other than that, I've learned a lot just from YouTube. I've learned a lot from other people that I know. I've learned a lot from just reading tutorials online. I've learned a lot from tinkering. Where you don't really learn how to hack, it's just something that you kind of do over the years, and you get used to how operating systems work, how network protocols work. It's really just messing around with the computer, to be honest with you. So Matthew asked, please, can you make more programming hacking tutorials? And in parentheses, I think he put Python. So yes, I'm going to be doing more programming tutorials coming up, and they're going to be more simplistic programming tutorials. Another great place to learn about hacking and learn about security is cybrary.it, and they have a huge course catalog on free courses. I haven't gotten into the penetration testing and ethical hacking course yet. There's also a cybersecurity course. There's post-exploitation, social engineering, Python for security professionals. If you want to learn more about Metasploit, go to the Metasploit. This would also be a great resource on learning how to hack specifically. Zach McCammon asked, when did you start getting into pen testing? What was your motive to make these videos, and was it to raise security awareness? That's actually a really good question. So if you followed my videos, you know that I talk about DonDoes30. That's actually a website that I created when I turned 30 years old. And my idea was, when I turned 30, I was going to do a 30-day challenge each month for a year, and I ended up going ahead and doing about a year and a half. One of the challenges that came up was a 30-day hacking challenge, after talking with one of my friends about what could be done, what can't be done with computers. He said, well, why don't you make that a 30-day challenge? I never really got into penetration testing before, never really got into quote-unquote hacking before, but the 30-day hacking challenge was really the first time I took a deep look into penetration testing, and that was, as you could see, March of 2015. So we're in August now, so what's that, about 5 months? So I guess I've been in quote-unquote penetration testing for 5 months, but I've used all that computer knowledge that I've acquired throughout all the years to go ahead and use towards my my hacking and my skill sets for that. So definitely check that out. It really doesn't give much more than my tutorials that we have on YouTube, but it'll give you an idea of kind of where I'm coming from and some of the other challenges that I've done in the past, including learning Mandarin Chinese. So ni hao. Let's get to some of the technical questions. I know we're about almost 10 minutes in. I like to keep these videos that short, but how do hackers hack into Gov websites using SQLi? So thank you, James Casey, for the question. SQLi is just SQL injection. So realistically, to hack into government sites, there has to be a SQL vulnerability that you could use an injection against. It's really not tough. It just depends on who coded the government website. Government websites would be the same as any other website. Realistically, the domain has no bearing in what coding is used. But usually they're a little bit more secure. But if you do find a SQL vulnerability, you could do a injection. Zuka Fersuliani, and guys, I apologize for butchering your names. You wrote, I have a problem installing Kali Linux. Can I hack something serious with Windows? Can just SQL injection? Also will be cool Python scripts for hacking for Linux and Windows. Okay, so I'm going to recommend, as I always do, that you use Linux for any type of hacking or penetration testing. It's because Linux beats Windows hands down on a lot of different things when it comes to the technical side of how the system runs. Linux is extremely customizable. You could compile your own kernel. You can make any changes that you need to. In fact, just Google Linux versus Windows, and I'm sure you're going to get a shitload of comparisons. In almost all cases, Linux is going to win hands down. So I highly recommend using Linux. I don't use any of the Windows programs. There are some Windows programs that you can use. I just personally prefer Linux for just about everything now. So Abu Jalal asked, how do I get the payload onto the victim's computer? Whether I use a flash drive or use the cloud, it won't work. So I don't know what you exactly mean. Once you write a payload or once you write the executable file, you should be able to copy that to the flash drive or upload it to Dropbox or Mega. Co.nz, or it used to be Mega Upload. I'm back in the Mega Upload days. Anyway, but usually you should be able to upload it to the cloud or flash drive. The victim has to run that executable file or the file that you create. I'm going to get into some tutorials on creating Word documents and Excel files that contain payloads a little bit later, but the victim has to actually run those files. So Dumain Ghana said, hey Don, this question is a little different. I was wondering if you knew how to exploit surveillance camera systems. I'm assuming it looks like a typo. I have a home security system that has 5 cameras all over my house, and the DVR that records is connected to the internet. Is this hackable? So pretty much anything is hackable. It just depends to what extent. Now, if your DVR that records is actually connected to the internet, it's going to have an IP address. I would suggest finding out what ports are open on that IP address. If you're logging into that DVR system, I highly recommend not using the default credentials, admin and password or some shit like that. You have to create a more complicated password or more, and definitely a more complicated username. So it's hackable by you using crappy credentials. Someone could just type in the credentials to log into the system, or if it's a common password, they could just brute force it. There may be some vulnerabilities depending on what ports are open with those cameras. It's just kind of hard to say. If you know the make and model of the camera company, you could always Google the name of the company or the camera model and exploits to see if there are known exploits. You could also look for exploits on your own if you know a little bit more about what you're doing there. So She's Ali said, Facebook.py script is no more working because of non-cookie error. Please give me a solution. Now this was a strange one because I guess Facebook.py, it's a Python script obviously, but I think Facebook.py, and I haven't really looked at the specific coding, but I could tell you one thing, Facebook is going to be extremely hard to hack. Obviously they know they're a huge target, being the #1 or #2 website in the entire world, depending on who you ask. You know, some people say Google's #1, some people say Facebook's #1. Either way, they know their shit, they know what they're doing, they know what attacks are coming. So it's going to be extremely hard to try to hack into Facebook. If Facebook.py, the script is not working any longer, I could tell you it's because Facebook intends to not make it work. So you may be shit out of luck on that one. Who knows? Brute forcing Facebook is pretty much not possible anymore with CAPTCHA and all that crap. James Casey asked, do you have to port forward using a keylogger? And I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. So, James, let's follow up on that question a little bit later. Zuka Fertusaliani, again, sorry for butchering your name, said, I have an idea. Make a tutorial in Mr. Robot is many hacking. Please make a tutorial like in episode 6, how to hack someone's phone. There he used something scanner, I don't know, for looking for a phone. Please make this. And second, how he hacked others, their police keyboard. Do you understand what I wrote? Thank you. Zuka, I guess I kind of understand what you wrote. Sorry for that. There's a kind of a language barrier I'm seeing, but I did see episode 6 of Mr. Robot. I just got back into the country. I was out in the Bahamas last week, and I just caught up on episode 6. It looks like he used a Bluetooth sniffer, from what I kind of gathered. I was unpacking and shit while trying to watch the episode. But there's still vulnerabilities out there for phones. There's still Bluetooth vulnerabilities because realistically, Bluetooth pins are usually 0000 all the way up to 9999. So technically, brute forcing a Bluetooth pin probably wouldn't really take that much time because there's only, 10,000 possibilities, right? And that would be about the same as brute forcing a WPS pin. So Rabdahamid Magamima, sorry buddy, what you cracking WPA, WPA2, and Pixie WPS is bad cracking. Who method outure for hacking WPA2? I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I'm going to assume you want to know more about the pixie dust attack that was released, I think, about 6 months ago or so. Check out my tutorial on that. Again, that's not going to work for all WPA, WPA2 encryption. It's only going to work for those that also have WPS available and enabled on the system. So Amex Dude 1969 asked, can you do some Windows 8 hacking tutorials, please? Yes and no. A lot of the hacking tutorials I'm doing for Windows 7 should definitely work on Windows 8. The problem is I don't have a copy of Windows 8, so I can't really test my theory for sure. But from what I understand, Windows 7 and Windows 8 really have the same back-end type of operating system, but Windows 8 added that stupid GUI crap that has all the stupid shit. So yeah. Anyway, Sir Dukin Adrian asked, what is the best antivirus in your opinion? So my opinion is, if you're going to go with a free antivirus, AVG offers a great antivirus in my opinion. If you're going with a paid antivirus, I would go with is it Kaspersky? Yeah. Kaspersky. Now, the reason I bring up Kaspersky is because they actually do a great job at finding those viruses that are almost pretty much undetectable. So I've seen in some of my tests where the virus that we write will pass through almost every single antivirus except for Kaspersky. And one of the reasons I heard, and I haven't actually gotten through this software, but from what I understand, what Kaspersky does is it sandboxes that exe file or whatever the file may be, and it runs that file in a sandbox. If that file tries to connect back out to the internet and it looks suspicious, it'll flag it as suspicious, which is really cool in terms of how antivirus software works. Because if you know how antivirus software works, it typically looks for a signature. And by that, it looks in files to see if it's similar to known known viruses that have come up in the past. But Kaspersky seems really cool because it sandboxes it and doesn't necessarily use a signature, or it uses the signature first, but then it also runs that program in the sandbox to see if it tries to break out and connect to the internet. So I would recommend that. And again, those are my two personal opinions. All right, so Skyfox again asked, how could you use Kali Linux on a Raspberry Pi to exploit a network? So if you don't know what a Raspberry Pi is, which I found out there were a couple of you that didn't, just judging by the comments, but Raspberry Pi is just basically a tiny computer. It's a PCB board, and I think you could get them for like $35 or some shit. They're really inexpensive. But what you could do with it is, well, just go to raspberrypi.org, and I was hoping they would just have, oh, here they are. So this is it. It's basically the size of a wallet that you could use. It runs off of an SD card. So what you would need to do is go to the Kali Linux, kali.org, go ahead and download the I think they actually have an image for the Raspberry Pi, and just go ahead and follow the instructions. Definitely follow the instructions from the Kali Linux machine, or from the Kali Linux website, excuse me. All right, this guy is just a bunch of symbols, or it's Arabic. I don't know the name. But it says, I just downloaded Kali Linux on my computer. Please tell me what things should I do first. Set up tools, and please, could you make a tutorial on Kali Linux? Not necessarily a hacking one, but on all the functions of the applications and places. First thing I always do when I download Kali Linux or any Debian-based Linux is I go apt-get update, and it'll get, I'm not going to do this right now, but it'll get all the updated software, and then apt-get upgrade, and it'll upgrade all the software. So that way, even if this Kali Linux came out months ago, you know that you're getting a fresh, updated on all the versions on the computer itself. All right, so I got Diego Oliveira. Says, hi, can I remote control a computer, not local, with reverse TCP using a proxy chain? Unfortunately, no. The reason is because when you're using a proxy chain, and I did a tutorial on proxy chains, you're going through multiple computers. So you're starting out with your computer, and let me see if I don't know if I could get a quick image here. Maybe I should have... yeah, we'll just use this one. So what you're doing here is you're going through, let's say, your computer to a proxy and then to your destination. Now what a reverse TCP does is this computer is told to connect back. Now the problem is if you use the IP address of the proxy server, it's going to connect back to the proxy server, and the proxy server is going to be like, I don't know what the fuck to do with this, and dump the TCP packets. The reason is because the proxy server doesn't know where this originated from, or it knows where it originated from, but it doesn't know where it's supposed to go. Learn a little bit more about proxies and that'll make more sense. But basically, I guess really that's as basic as I can make it. So no, it won't work using a proxy chain, and that's exactly the reason why we have to port forward when we're setting up a remote reverse TCP, as you saw in my tutorial. Now, the other thing is, though, is if you control this proxy server, you might be able to go ahead and have this sent to the proxy server and then you. Now, how to do that is in my opinion, I would buy a VPN, or excuse me, not VPN, VPS, virtual private server, which gives you shell access. I'd probably just purchase a cheap virtual private server, set up my own server so this public IP address is seen by this guy, but then he doesn't see where it's actually going to your computer. So I guess technically, Diego, to answer your question, you probably could, but you have to own the proxy server that it's going through. That's probably the best I can answer it right now without doing a little bit more research into it. Virtue Craft says, my problem is I can't hack any computers in my network, but you can. Can you tell me how you can do it and I cannot? Virtue Craft, I have no idea what the hell's going on, buddy. I need a little bit more. Are you getting error messages? What's kind of the case here? So let me know. Alan Cho said, hey Don, do a tutorial on responder.py. What are some other methods to hack into a victim that isn't on your LAN network? So there are quite a few methods. And responder.py I'm actually, again, not familiar with. I'll have to check out that script and see exactly what that does. But I'll be getting into other methods in terms of, like I said before, we're going to be setting up PDF files. Most likely we're going to set up Word files and Excel files and stuff like that to also get a victim from a remote connection to connect to yours. All right, Dizzy Glitch said, hello there. I was wondering, could you give some app/hack tips for, I guess it's app, hack tips for jailbroken iPhones and more ways to get and use IPs. And I was really wondering, is there a way to contact you via Gmail or other platform? So a bunch of good questions. First of all, I don't have an iPhone. I don't use an iPhone. I hate Apple. I know that's kind of weird saying it. I'm one of the few that just do not like Apple products. So I don't have an iPhone to really test. I know a lot of questions have been related to iPhones and getting onto iPhones and hacking into iPhones. But me personally, I don't have an iPhone. So I don't know how else I could help you. Unless you want to send me your iPhone. That'd be awesome. Probably one of the best ways to contact me is through the Facebook page. It's facebook.com/DonDoes30. And I know a few of you have contacted me through that already. All right, a couple more questions here, and then I might split this to a part 2. Andres Paulson said, "Hey Don, the method you DDoS the websites in your DOS video, does that also work on people's Wi-Fi router?" So, first of all, let me clear something up. I didn't DDoS a website. The tutorial that I made was using Slowloris, and how Slowloris works is, god damn it, it gave me the animal. How Slowloris works is it's a script that overloads a server with requests that never answer. Now, without getting into a little bit more detail on that, basically this is set up for just Apache servers. Actually, I shouldn't say just Apache servers, mostly Apache servers, also a bunch load of other servers, but it's not going to work on someone's Wi-Fi router, unfortunately, just because this method is really more of an exploit when it comes to web servers. Now, if that person is on a web server, or they have a home web server for some reason, it could work. But other than that, it's not a DDoS method. It's a DOS method. So it's just my computer taking down the website. All right. So we've got Nicholas Taumpanakis. "Hey Don, could you say a few words about the new Kali Linux 2 operating system that will be available in August?" Is it August? That's pretty soon. So first of all, from what I've seen, if you guys don't know, Kali Linux is coming out with 2.0. I kind of had it up here on the website for a while. August 11th. So we're almost there. So a few words about it. First of all, I don't necessarily like the Windows environment, to be honest with you. I'm a command line guy. If you've seen and actually this is how I'm going to end part 1. I'm a command line guy, so if you've seen, I don't really do much with the operating system. All my tutorials are basically through the command line, right? So I'm not too impressed by all the bells and whistles and all the stupid animations. When you click on something, it flashes for you, or does a little dance, a fucking Irish jig or some shit. I really don't care about that. What I care about the most is the system, some of the enhancements that they talked about. And one of them that I really noticed was, I think it has, do they even list it here? God, list your good shit, man, that we care about. From what I understand, it's going to come with a native Ruby setup. So if you've run Metasploit and you have Conky open on your system, I don't have it open on this laptop when I'm running, but or you guys should check out Conky, by the way. When you run Metasploit, Ruby takes up anywhere from 80 to 99% of your processor, and that's a pain in the ass. So not only does it take a long time for Metasploit to load, as you've seen in the past, but it's also burning up your processor if you're using it pretty heavily. So according to one of the videos I saw on the new Kali Linux, there's some type of native Ruby installation or some shit that they came out with that's going to load Metasploit faster, but also I'm hoping that it keeps the CPU cooler and it's not using so much of the CPU's power. But until August 11th comes out, I can't confirm that. I guess I'll have to wait till next week to really test how that's going to work. But other than that, I guess it's an upgrade. It looks okay. I don't really like the Windows environment aspect of it. Hopefully there will be a way to change that. It looks too Ubuntu for me, and I never liked Ubuntu. I was more of a like just straight Debian. You got your stuff up here, and you go at it from there. And I'm assuming they're probably just going to keep all the same tools and, maybe just have a few added to it. I haven't really been paying too much attention to the new Kali until it comes out, to be honest with you. So that is part 1, I guess, of my AMA, because we've taken a half an hour. I have a shitload more questions, so I'm going to be making a part 2, and we're going to be starting on the, what do you call it? We're going to be starting on the Windows series pretty shortly. So thanks for watching.